Dan, please go ahead. I'm super excited for today's podcast. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your business and where you all got it started.
Thanks for having me, Brian. This is a cool opportunity. Glad to be on the show. Um, yeah, a little about us. We're a local independent company here in Savannah, Georgia. This is the one shop we opened, was it 3 years ago in May? Um, I've got a background in the moving industry. I worked at Gentle Giant Moving and Storage in Boston, and then I moved down to Savannah, Georgia. Um, Had a different job, was doing kind of a budget office, kind of finance job at the city. Um, that didn't work out pretty quickly, so I kind of found myself in a position I really needed to um, pay rent, pay off some credit cards, and keep myself afloat in Savannah. I think I'd moved here 6 months prior to kind of being open ended, and moving was something I've always done and always had an opportunity to work at back home. But so here I kind of just started my own operation, and we kind of hit the ground running, and it's been working good enough it's, to keep the lights on. So we're gonna keep going. Um,
That,
yeah,
that's really awesome. And it's actually something I read about online is that you used to work with Gentle Giant. What was that like? Because I know they're super white glove, and I've actually never personally had any experience of someone who has worked with Gentle Giant. What was it like working for them? How long did you work with them? And what did they teach you that you brought over to the moving business for yourself?
yeah. So they're super white glove. I know they'll always tell customers they're the most expensive company in New England, and they were happy to tell people about that. So it was really the if you need the job done right, that's who you call. So I mean, it'd be 5 or 6 days a week. A lot of times, of just you know, super high end houses, mansions, that sort of things. Lots of packing, lots of white gloves. So they taught me how to do things right, I would say. Definitely, I brought some guys in that I've worked with them. They're good at moving, but I don't know. A lot of other companies don't teach the same good practices that we got there. So um, I'm fortunate for that. If you know how to move really high end stuff, you can kind of move anything. So it's good. I've tried to bring a lot of those lessons, a lot of the different packing skills and kind of techniques um, from learning over there. So I was a really good company, real real strong culture. Everybody just had a lot of pride in the work. It was a massive company. I think we had, I don't even know, 13, maybe 14 offices just in New England alone. Then they're kind of all over.
Wow.
Did some long distance work with them too. They had a long distance division, so um, got to kind of see that end of moving with semis and different stops and that sort of thing. Riding as a helper, doing that for some trips. So it was great working there. Met some really good people. Learned a lot. Um, how long I was there. Started off as a college job, so when I was 19 was when I got in there, and then I'd work all summer. I'd usually kind of stack up classes a couple days a week, so I could move the rest of the days of the week. Then getting out in the professional world. Had a lot of jobs that I got hired and I quit very very soon after because I just didn't like them, weren't good fits, and I just saw I was like, I'd rather be moving furniture. And Gentle Giant always had plenty of work, so that was a pretty continuous cycle for me. And then a lot of long weekends or days off and stuff. I'd always be able to pick up work there, so I do really appreciate that about them. They definitely could keep you busy, or always happy to have some hands, and it was a great experience working there, and definitely brought a lot of those skills and techniques down here, trying to make Mover Dan kind of a little bit in the vision of how they work things up there. So it's been good.
That's awesome. And I'm sure you learn so much, especially when it's from a white glove team, like you said as well, who specifically even advertises that they are the most expensive company to go with. It brings a sort of different standard to the way they move. And I'm actually really curious about something you said as well, is you said the culture was so strong. There's something really big to that when you have pride in your work. that you also do a better job of it. Now, I'm curious with Mover Dan Savannah, how big have you grown your team now? How many trucks do you guys have? And I'm curious, how do you instill that same culture in your guys?
Um, yeah, so we actually purchased the third vehicle, a truck now. We've got two riding around, and then we rent as needed. So yeah, happy days. I'll hopefully can go grab that one day this week once it's serviced and ready. So yeah, add another truck to the fleet. I've got it's kind of tough. So I've got four main guys right now, but we're growing to another crew. It looks like so it should be kind of 6 to 8 guys in the rotation coming up. Then I have a executive assistant Sheila. She does a lot of the back end phone answering, taking people's information down. She does all the Facebook pages and social media for us, so we kind of keep everything in house, which is really good. Um, yeah, I guess kind of big thing with us too. We shy away from the kind of virtual assistants, call centers, AI answering, things like that. We kind of stick to a little more traditional, like to keep it local, give it that local touch. You know, if it's going to be either myself or Sheila answering the phone, and then yeah, that's something we take a lot of pride in. As far as the culture with the guys, yeah, just try to make sure they're well taken care of is a big thing. We pay a lot. We pay a little higher than average. So that's something we always try to keep in there. Um, lots of lots of uniforms, lots of green, but we have lots of jackets, sweatshirts, hats, magnets. All the trucks are wrapped. Everything. I think that helps a bit too if people are in those uniforms and really know that not you're being watched, but you're representing something that's bigger than you. That's very important, keeping guys motivated. We do big bonuses twice a year, one at Christmas and then one in June, kind of as a halfway point. Um, and it is reminding the guys a lot of times, it's a competitive workplace. We hire and we keep the best people that we can. Um, you know, being a small growing company, there's going to be a lot of opportunities down the line. And I always remind guys of that. But I tell them too, it's going to go to whoever the best person is, not just the person who's been here the longest. So as long as you keep that, um, yeah, keep that foot forward, then you can have a good future here. Um, yeah.
Keeps you guys hungry, I'm sure. And I'm curious as well. You said that you have two bonuses a year. What do those bonuses look like, and what's that contingent on?
It's contingent on really sticking around. It's how much money we make. We've kind of edited it from time to time, but we kind of take a pot. The full time guys get the opportunity to get it. We take total hours, take what number we can afford to dish out, and then just divide it based on how many hours you worked. Um,
That's
so
awesome. And I'm sure that goes a really long way. And on top of the base salary you pay, which is already higher than the industry average by the sounds of it, and the tips that your guys receive, they also receive a bonus every 6 months, which gives them an incentive to stick with you for the long term.
mhm.
That's really, really cool. And now I'm curious, you said also there's a strong job market right now, at least for the people who, as an employer, looking for people so they know that it's a competitive workspace. Where do you find most of your guys?
that's been tough. We had some of them are just through Indeed. Um, a lot of them are I was gross. It's kind of weird, but just staying in contact. It's been a couple times, I was gonna wanted to hire a guy, but just didn't have the capacity to speak to. But we try to stay in contact with those people, call them back up when we really need them, and then a lot of times they recommend people. We've gotten guys from two of our good guys. I brought one of them in because we kind of had been talking on and off for a couple months, just because he wanted some work and I wanted to get him in, but we just didn't have the enough work for him. Then had a guy quit, brought him right in. Almost immediately he's like, "Hey, I got another guy. Really want him to come over if we can." And that's the best way to do it in this industry, I think, just because guys know, they're not going to recommend somebody who's a bad worker. Nobody wants to work with a bad worker. So if you're getting guys to recommend them, that'll bring them right in. Yeah, because I'll be honest, Indeed's tough. Filtering through everything is a bit of a pain. Um, yeah, we tried like Move Up and some other things that didn't really work all that great either. And just getting people in the room for an interview is a pain. Kind of switch to group interviews when we do interviews. That's one thing I'd definitely recommend to other people. If they ever have a thought on it, just pick whatever time slot, Wednesday at 3, whatever it might be. Get all the people that want to do an interview, call them all to come there as a group. That way you sift through all the people who don't show up for an interview. Because with us, it's been like 50% of people don't even show up for an interview if you schedule one. So that's really half of it is if you can just show up for that first interview. Um, and then yeah, trying to just be on a hire fast, fire fast kind of basis right now. We'll do a background check, give you a shot to get out there on the trucks, but I'll ask my main guys like, are they good or are they not good? And if I get enough feedback from the crew, they're not really good. I'll just try somebody else out because it's you can teach people to a certain extent, but it's like I don't know. Guy John Giant told me that you can turn a good guy into a good mover. You can't turn a good mover into a good guy. Um, you might have somebody who's big, strong, even has a background in the industry, but then if they get out there and they just don't mesh, and you can see, they're not really a great guy, they're not going to work out here. So that's what we've learned and try to be on more lately. We'll give anybody a chance, but if it doesn't work, then we just try to cut ties really quickly. 'Cause, yeah.
That's something we see time and time again is that value and company fit is so much more important than actual competency. And I'm sure that goes a long way with your guys, is when they are
Mm-hmm.
on a move with a new guy, they're trying to see, okay, how's this person as a fit? How do they move as well? But like you said, I actually really like that expression. You can make a good guy into a great mover. You can't make a great mover into a good guy. And I think that goes a really long way. Now, something else I'm curious about, which I love, and I think everyone should implement, is group interviews. So tell me a little bit more about that. How do you schedule it? And then what does it look like when it's actually a group interview? How do you go about that?
Um, yeah, we've done a couple. I did it kind of like how I said, Wednesday is usually kind of a slower day for us. So I don't know. That's the day I usually pick if we're going to conduct them. And again, just get everybody together. Usually I'll follow up a phone like if somebody calls in looking for a job. We get a lot of people coming in like that. Is just hey, text me your email, and then I'll text you with the time for the interview. And a lot of times people won't text over the email, and that's just another good kind of all right, off the list there. But yeah, when we do it, honestly, I don't really have them talk at all. I just kind of talk about the company for a little bit, let them know, hey, this is a competitive workplace. This is that. Background checks will be the next thing. Just disclose to me if you have any history. We'll, we'll see what it works, what it looks like. We're gonna look at it anyways. Um, and then I don't know. It's kind of a good gauge of just how they present themselves. If they're shaking hands and showing initiative, if they're like looking on their phone while you're talking, you can gauge a lot from that brief time. Um, so yeah, that's how it looks like with us. And then yeah, if they seem like somebody worth getting on the
And
trucks, we'll
then
try them out on the trucks. But like I always tell people, I'm like getting on the trucks. That's the tryout there. Once you don't have the job if you get on the truck, so you might do bad a couple days, and
and
that's it. We're not committing much. Yeah.
what does that look like when you try them out? What does that look like when you try them out on the truck? So they've, of course, you've seen them in person, they're interested, you've run the background check. When you try them out on the truck, let's say this is a two-man crew that you're putting on a move, do you then just add them as an additional person? Is that at no extra cost to the client? What are you paying the guys for that trial move? What does that all look like?
Um, yeah, I'll pay them regular. I know a good friend of mine says that he does that just extra guy on the crew type thing at no charge to the customer. I've thought about playing with that. What I've done more so is I've done that before as well. Is just have an extra guy. Um, Ideally, I like to have it myself or a more experienced person on a two-man crew, and then you have two guys that are trying out. kind of for the first day. That way you really see them next to each other. Who's taking more initiative, who's putting extra work in. So I guess you're getting two for one, but with new guys in that case. So I don't know. That's been the best way I've done it. Unfortunately, sometimes you see, oh, you both suck, and I don't want either of you. But that's so it's kind of it can backfire too. But yeah, that's been the best way that I like to go about it. Yeah, my top guy there, I can kind of throw people to him, and he can give me a good idea if it's gonna be a go or a no go at all. Um, yeah. Oh, and we started doing it.
And it seems like you guys.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you just made me think. I started doing just because the what was it? Indeed is getting tedious. I kind of told guys, yeah, we'll start doing cash bonuses if you can bring somebody on. So it's $100 if they last for
Hmm.
30 days, and another $300 if they last for 90 days. And they're really in. So yeah.
That's a really great incentive. And something I was actually thinking about asking about is if you have some kind of like refer a friend bonus. So just to clarify, that's $100 for 30 days and $300 for 90 days, which is actually really great. And that's, you mentioned this earlier, and I want to address this to the audience, is your team has, in that case, two incentives. They want to work with a good team because the moves go faster. You know you've got a team that you can depend on and is reliable.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, they also get paid for it. So it just sounds like a win-win-win. And I think that's something moving company owners should lean into a lot, is actually asking your guys just straight up, do you know anyone else who is looking for work and who you think would be great in the moving industry? They don't necessarily need experience as long as they've got that grit and they're willing to work. And then also giving them that incentive by saying if they stick around for 30 days, $100, and then even more if they stick around for 90 days. That's a really cool way of doing things. And something else I wanted to touch upon, which I think you've done a really great job on, is branding and brand image. Now, you went for Mover Dan Savannah, and green is your color. Tell me a little bit more about that, how you wrap your trucks, hats, apparel. I'd love to hear all about it.
Um, yeah, I wish I had. I should have grabbed a box of swag to show you stuff. But yeah, we work with a local branding company or apparel company called Logo Goods. We're in a B&I group with the owner, but she has us on everything. The name, branding, and color, honestly, it was I had put my 2 weeks in, and I had some time at my desk to kill, and kind of just thought, what I don't know, what's going to sound like a local company that's somebody you can talk to the owner and um, yeah, and just I don't know. To me, it sounded like a good night. I usually go by Danny elsewhere. That Mover Danny didn't have a ring to it, so it became Mover Dan. And yeah, I just kind of built some business cards. The green on Savannah. Well, I guess it's a couple things. So the city of Savannah, the colors were green, so I was like, okay, well, those are Savannah colors. St. Patrick's Day is also massive here. It's like one of the bigger parades in the country. The whole town shuts down um, for the parade.
I was curious about that because the first time I saw your
Yeah,
trucks with the green on the side of the truck, I said, Dan has to be Irish
yeah,
because it gives that vibe. That's how our brains work is we have color
so
connotations.
it's,
And when I
it's
saw it, I said, do you have any Irish in you, or is that just that
um,
going back to Savannah and that green color?
no, it's funny enough. I'm from Boston. I'm from the South Boston neighborhood too, where I think I was the only kid growing up who has no Irish blood in me. I'm all Albanian. Yeah, but it goes with the Boston. Then one of my neighbors is like, "Oh, it's Celtics green." I was like, "Yeah, it kind of is. Like it's Celtics colors too." Um, yeah, I like green. I don't know. I like Guinness and pubs and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of Irish connection there. And then, well, yeah, involved in an Irish sports club, a local hurling club that we sponsor here too. If you ever seen that
Awesome.
before, but yeah, so there's a lot of Irish connections, but none of my blood. Um, but yeah,
So your blood's not Irish, but
uh,
at heart you feel Irish. You've got
I
enough
suppose so.
connections to say you're Irish at this
Yeah,
point.
there's Guinness in my veins, I guess. So yeah, you could say that. Um, yeah, well, Gentle Giant, we had tons of we had a lot of guys on J1 visas that came over from Ireland that we worked with, and then honestly, yeah, two of my managers and mentors, Irish guys. We had a lot of yeah. So I guess I learned moving from a lot and moved with a lot of Irish people too. There's a lot there, but
Irish guys Irish guys work hard and party harder. I remember one of our best
yeah,
guys, he was called Joe,
yeah,
and he was a small little Irish guy and he had the thickest
yeah.
accent, but he was really, really great at what he
Really,
did. And always in a good mood.
yep.
Now there was one time where he didn't show up for work because St. Paddy's Day was the day before and he got too drunk, but I forgave him in that case because there's one time over three
Yeah.
years, but in general, they're really, really great guys. Now, you also said you have two trucks and you're just working on getting your third one and you wrap all of them. I know that's something some of the smaller companies sometimes struggle with is they've gotten a truck or they're renting a truck, but let's look at more when they just have a truck and they don't know how to start with the wrapping process. I'd love to hear a little bit about how you did that and who you did it with.
Um, yeah, B and I again. We joined a really great chapter here. I do attribute a lot of success to being in that room, but sign design in South Carolina, right over the where we're like Savannah's like pretty much on the South Carolina border. So we go over there. That was why I missed you last week. We got a new had to get the wrap fixed up on a truck. I had to make my way up there.
Mhm.
But yeah, they've been great and very easy to work with, and I highly recommend them. I know we recommend them to our competitor that I know you spoke with. They get their trucks wrapped there too, so they do a really good job. It's easy,
Awesome.
simple. Um, yeah, from people I've talked to, seems like reasonable prices. So I haven't questioned it, but yeah,
And,
definitely recommend.
and for people who have
Yeah,
never
you got to wrap.
for people who have never been through this
Yeah.
process, what does that look like from setting up the design to then getting it to the company that you're working with, time frame and cost? I'd love to share that with the audience so they know a little bit more about how all of that
Yeah,
goes.
sure.
Also, I see we have a cat joining us, by the
Oh
way.
yeah, that's my cat there. Good eye. But yeah, I mean, I'd say make sure you find a really reputable company first off. Don't go the cheap route. Go somebody with a reputation. If you're I don't know, if you're a mover company in Atlanta and you see a competitor with a nice wrap truck, call your competitor up, see who they use. Um, they're, that's the best way. That would be my recommendation: is find a good looking wrap truck and ask that person. Because I've just heard some nightmare stories of people getting them done cheap, and then the wrap starts wearing off after a year, and you might as well have not even done it because it does take some time. Um, for us, it is. I mean, the process with them was, I mean, I kind of had these T-shirts already. I was like, I mean, name and phone number on the back, kind of the generic. I was like, yeah, just take this shirt and put it on a truck, and just big. I'd say shoot for big letters, big names, phone numbers, and all. And yeah, with us, it was really easy and seamless again because we worked with a very good and reputable company. So sent over a couple proofs. We say approve. I think production takes about 2 weeks, and then they've held the truck for a week and had it done. Yeah, if I get it in there by Saturday, Monday, they've had it done by Friday in the past generally. Um, and then around 4 grand roughly for a box truck, and that's for the cab being fully wrapped too. Um, Again, I've heard from other people I talk with, they all just say, "Oh wow, that's really good." So I don't know what the general market is, but I think that's from what I've heard and asked around, people seem to think it's really it's good and reasonable. And again, it's about the quality at the end of the day and having a good relationship with them. You might have an instant like we had, somebody scraped the tree and, it just went through the whole side of the box. And because we bought the truck from Penske, it's just a yellow racing stripes on the side. So, being that it's a good company, nice people, I was like, hey, I just need some green to cover this up with. And, they're just like, oh, yeah, here you go. Here's some extra green from yours that we had left over in a roll. So then you can kind of just patch it up. And, if it's 10-10, if it's 10 miles away or 10 feet away or going 10 miles an hour, you're never going to notice it. If you really look close, you might see it. But yeah, that's what it's all about. Just looking good rolling around.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So,
So it It costs you about $4,000 and the process is about 2 weeks. Now, you said it was for a box truck. What size box truck do you guys mainly run, or what was that one for?
Yeah, it was a box truck, the 26 foot length, kind of, your standard box.
That's a great price. Yeah, that is a good
Yeah,
price. So
it
4,000 for a
usually goes
26
for,
foot
but yeah.
truck.
And this is the full cab, like chassis area too. That's all green. Um, yeah, we've got two colors. I don't know. I know with shirt printing, the amount of colors makes a difference. So because we got two colors, it's a little easier. But then we also have like we've won got some awards. Like we got Best of Savannah 4 years in a row now. We just won it again. But then they'll print out stickers. Appreciate
Congratulations.
that, man. But yeah, they'll print out stickers. I can show you. I actually got one handy. I like. Yeah, they'll give us the stickers, and you can kind of, yeah, like we put these on the.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So they put these out for us real quick and easy too. And so yeah, it's been.
And that's a great way to build instant rapport or trust with your customers. If they see those stickers, they're going to say, okay, this is a good company for us to go with. So that's really amazing. And you actually touched upon something which people don't talk about often enough, but it's BNI, and it's also just being in groups which push you to be a better version of yourself and be a better businessman. Now, for those of you who don't know, BNI is for Business Network International, and you have different chapters around the US, around the world. And just like Dan said, I couldn't recommend more highly joining one of those. Now, it's unlikely there's going to be other moving companies in that chapter. I think actually sometimes they go against having the same businesses, but it just goes a really long way. Just like Dan said, he found his wrapping guy through that, and you'd be amazed just being around other entrepreneurs. They're going to have smart ideas. You can implement them into your business as well, or you'll have tangential services. So, just like this, completely different business, truck wrapping and moving. But at the end of the day, you guys get to help one another and you maybe get a discount for those things. So to anyone who hasn't checked out BNI, I would definitely recommend looking into that. Now, it actually brings us on to a great other point, which is mentorship and learning. Now, I understand you had 10 years with Gentle Giant, so I'm sure you learned a lot there. But the business world of moving is completely different to the day to day world of moving. How have you taught yourself all of that?
Um, B and I helped a lot. Honestly, yeah. Um, yeah, I kind of honestly, I'll paint the picture. It's about a year into the business. When I joined the group, it was first 6 months of business. It was really I was doing some like handyman hanging high end drapes, kind of just doing little junk removal, doing a lot of odd jobs. It wasn't really just moving. It was kind of whatever could do to make a buck, furniture assembly and stuff like that. A lot. After that, it kind of turned into just moving and then really trying to just fill a schedule up and figure out how to make that work. And then a couple people recommended, I was just getting like a Facebook and Google page set up, and the girl was helping me with that. She recommended BNI. I got into the group. You know, was like, hey, this seems like I might get some money out of it. Kind of asked them, hey, why don't you ever have movers in here? Because none of the groups in Savannah had a mover. The guy was telling me, he was like, oh, yeah, well, we used to have a moving company, but then they just got so busy they couldn't make the meetings anymore and they just got slammed with business. I was like, oh, that sounds great. That's what I want to do. But yeah, no, it turned out to be just a great point of connection for me because it was like, again, like you said, I knew everything about moving. I mean, we really weren't doing nearly as high end of moves as I was accustomed to, so that portion seemed just very easy to me. It was just a matter of I need to fill the schedule up. I don't have anything booked. Um, but then kind of learned slowly. I was like, well, I was still in plain clothes doing the move, so that was a big one. Found the logo and promotional products girl that she kind of got me going with all the shirts and everything. Um, Had no insurance at the time. Didn't know who to talk to about it. Sure enough, we got a property and casualty insurance agent in the room. He got me set up with that. Had a really poor experience with the CPA because when you're calling up and you're like, hey, I'm 27 years old. I just started a business. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just really need some help with my taxes. it's really hard to get a call back. Most people don't want to work with you. So it was good. I got a CPA in the group too. The truck wrapping guy, again, a couple realtors that they send me a good amount of work. Um, I think, yeah, you got to pay for the memberships like $1,000 or a little more now probably. But I remember I got my membership got paid for after like a couple weeks just because one of the realtors had jobs immediately, so it was great in that respect. Um, but yeah, that kind of got me a lot more in the just running the business end of things. Again, good mentorship. Um, Sales, I really improved on a lot. We did a couple sit downs with a guy that um, sold commercial lighting. So, apples and oranges, nothing like selling moves at all. But, he was happy to sit down with me, just tell me some good sales tactics. Honestly, just told me, he was like, try to make it so you don't talk at all when you're doing a sale or an estimate. Just make it so if they're talking 90% of the time, you're probably going to get the business. That was a really good lesson.
That's funny.
Yeah, so yeah, kind of learning. BNI was definitely the most monumental thing in running the business. Listen to some podcasts too. Um, Went to it was the Moving Titan retreat back in September this year. That was also that was great. Learned a lot there. Made some really good connections. We got made a couple buddies from it that we were all about the same point, kind of size and revenue wise, and yeah, we got a group chat that's just there's voice memos coming into it right now as we're talking. It's just constantly going, so that's been a good sort of mentorship. Oh yeah, another gentleman from BNI, one of the guy in my chapter, his buddy back home in South Carolina opened a company like 10 years ago, so he got me connected with him too. So he's just that's been great. It's a couple 30-minute conversations that just turned into took away years of trial and error that would have been there otherwise if I had to try it all myself. So that was really impactful. So yeah, I love mentorship. It's good. I would definitely recommend it to anybody.
That's the awesome thing about mentorship is it comes in so many different shapes and sizes. Just from the couple things you mentioned there, you have BNI, which is like apples and oranges. There's lots of business owners, but they don't do the same thing as you. Then you mentioned moving Titan retreats, which is really huge, and I can't wait to touch on that in a second. And that's all for people specifically in the moving industry. And then you just have like group chats of like-minded people. And I think that goes such a long way as entrepreneurship, as I'm sure you know can be a lonely journey sometimes. Just having people alongside you who want to share in your success, who want to learn from you, you can learn from them. It goes such a long way. So I really appreciate you sharing all of those insights. That's amazing for all of our listeners. Is if you're new to this, whether you've been in it 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, surround yourself with people who are doing the same thing for you and have big aspirations. Because that way, what's the old saying? Birds of a feather flock together, and you are the sum of the five closest people around you, and I think that's huge. Now, I'd love to touch upon the Moving Titan retreat. I get advertisements for that all the time. I've never actually been myself, so this is more just a personal question. But what was that like? Where was it, and how'd you find it?
Um, Definitely, definitely check it out. Highly recommend it. It was St. Pete, Florida last year. This year it's going to be in Clearwater, so same neighborhood. Easy to get to for me and you. So it's good right down in Florida there. How did I hear about it? They had it was like a virtual movers conference that they do yearly every March. Yeah, last year I kind of tried to just make I don't know, not resolutions, but different focuses, I guess, every year. So last year was kind of mentorship. I got that BNI connection from the guy who'd been in it 10 years. And, it was the first conversation was 30 minutes. And I was just like, oh, okay, now I like, know more about storage and getting a warehouse and, things like shipping. I don't know, more than I ever would have thought I would learn that fast. So after that, it was kind of like, okay, I need to do whatever I can, get in the room with other people. I had that virtual movers conference that was through Smart Move and the CRM that we use. And then I think from that, I must have got on a mailing list or Facebook could, read my mind or whatever, and started just advertising it a ton to me. Um, yeah, it was something my CPA recommended it too. We work really closely together. He's kind of I don't know what they call it. It's like when it's a more tax strategy kind of program we do. We don't just check in once a year. We kind of have an ongoing monthly um, deal with
Awesome.
check-ins, which is great. I definitely recommend that if anybody's curious about something like that. Um, and he's the one who really recommended it to me because I told him about the podcast I was listening to. I was like, "Yeah, you should see this. This is great." And he was like, "Listen, this is what you have to do. Is like take the $2,000 or whatever it's going to cost to go to something like this. Go to one of these conferences. Go to a convention. Just take the week off. Just do it." And I was like, "No, that's dumb. I need to make money." But but then I listened to him once I saw this, just because it was so close by in St. Pete, and I was like, "Yeah, there's just no excuse not to go." And yeah, it was great. It was awesome. They had it at a kind of like beachside resort style hotel. Had a big conference area. They'd have different talks going on all day. Lots of different speakers. Lots of different I don't know what to call them, supplementary companies from the industry, like Aegis Insurance is there, Smart Moving, and Snowball, and some different types of companies that work with you in the industry were there. I think a lot of them are sponsors, but it was cool. There was just tons of people. Again, everybody just wants to talk, network. You just go one thing to another. Um, have some drinks at the end of the day with people. Make lots of connections. Go to eat. Wake up and repeat. And just keep doing it all over again. So you really get you get tons of knowledge. You get to hear a lot of these guys that are like titans of the industry. Yeah, that's what Chad Coney and Wade Swinkle put it on. And then you have a lot of people like, you know, Stephen Reed. I was really a fan of after seeing the virtual conference. I was really excited to see him. Mark Hershey's there. So it's cool because it's a lot of these people that you might hear podcasts of or hear about on kind of this world of the industry, and they're all just there, yeah, shaking hands, having drinks, chopping it up. Yeah, I saw Larry O'Toole, who's the owner of Gentle Giant, and Tom O'Gorman is kind of like the number two now. I saw them both there. They both remember me, so it was cool talking with them. And then there was another guy who was a former General Giant that started a company that was there too. So it was cool. We kind of got a group picture and stuff like that. So um, yeah, it was great. I highly recommend, man. It was excellent. Definitely.
That's a really nice full circle moment is where you worked with them for 10 years and they still remember you and they're probably really proud of where you are now, right? Because if you're a company that really cares, you want to see your employees go further. You understand they might not always be in your ecosystem. So I'm sure that was such a nice full circle moment. You're going to have to send me that picture. I'm sure that's
Oh
really
yeah.
cool. And to all our listeners listening, when you go to any of these conferences, they are so, so valuable. You're going to have thought leaders in the space. You're going to have keynote speakers. And like you said as well, some of the sponsors are really great too. They're not just choosing any kind of random sponsor and they're not choosing low quality sponsors. If you go to the right conferences, anyhow, it's actually things which will really be helping you. You might get some promotion codes, whatever that is. This is not at all a promotion for moving Titan retreats, but I've heard such great things. And to hear that from you as well is really awesome. Now, do you remember one of your key takeaways from that retreat, and how did you go about implementing that?
Um, yeah, no, I do. They had a key speaker session. It was I think it was Stephen Reed, Mark Hershey, Chris Sweet from Swamp Rabbit, and a couple other big names like that in the industry. But they got there's a question portion. I was excited I got to ask one of the questions. But it was just how do you foster these realtor relationships? What have you guys done that works? How do you make them remember you? What do you do? And yeah, it was Stephen Reed. He said you take your personal cell phone, call them up off your personal cell, and just say, hey, we've helped some of your clients in the past. Really want to just introduce myself. Here's my personal number in case you or a client ever needs anything at all. You can reach me directly. Really want to just put a good foot forward and make sure that we're your go-to guy. And yeah, I got back and I started just finding realtor signs and looking for numbers and started cold calling. And yeah, it worked. It worked really good. We got one gentleman who's one of the top realtors in this town who we had done a couple jobs for his clients before. And I'd introduced myself a few times. He just didn't really remember me. And then whatever it was that just doing it again that time and doing it in that fashion that really clicked. And he was like, "Oh, this is awesome." And he's been using us faithfully ever since. He's gotten us a lot of work over a short time. So yeah, that's it. That was definitely my biggest and best single takeaway that we kind of implemented and had some success with. That's been really a great kind of tactic.
And that's something I've heard time and time again, especially if you're a local business and you haven't yet got to the chaining part where you're going from city to city, is working with your local connections goes such a long way, and especially realtors. Like cold calling, normally you get a cold call. We've all experienced it before. It's terrible. We don't want to speak to whoever it is. It's very forced, unnatural. We don't want to do it right there and then. We might be busy. But when you do this and you're a local, you can introduce yourself. You've seen my trucks. You can even, just like you said, I've moved XYZ in the past. You can talk to them about how their experience was. Those cold calls are just going to be so much more successful. And like you said, this one realtor who is really large in your local area, I'm sure he sent you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue just from one connection you made in your local area. So that's really awesome, and that's a great marketing channel. Now I'm curious, now that we're on the marketing side of things, what do your marketing funnels looks like? It looks like realtors is a really good one for you. Do you do any other forms of marketing?
Um, Yard signs, love yard signs. A lot of people don't do them, or I don't know why. Um, they're cheap, they're easy. That we've gotten some really big jobs off. I mean, it kind of just creates the idea of I've seen you before. It's something I wish I did when I first started out because we get so many people that they're like, "Oh, you must be doing well. We see your yard signs everywhere." I'm like, "How would that mean I'm doing well?" Whatever it is, people kind of think it, and it's those repeat. I don't know. I think the repeat signs kind of work. And again, you can get them for like $3 a sign. Like it's really cheap. Um, we've done we do the mailers through USA Home Listings. Um, that seems to we're still it's too early to kind of gauge exactly what the ROI is on it because we started in October. Then it was like 3 months before they really started hitting, and then it was the slow months. So kind of tough to gauge, but it seems like we're getting some jobs out of it. I mean, it's definitely paying for it. It's just kind of I don't know. Want to give it a year or so before we really check on that, but they've been good to work with. Definitely, yeah. Recommend checking them out too for direct mail. Um, let's see, realtors. A lot of the local networking groups is where we've had success. Um, so we do BNI, Chamber of Commerce, or a member of Buy Locals. Yeah, kind of self-esteem. It's a local business kind of network group here. We do what's it called? Maritime After Hours. That's a lot more warehouses and kind of shipping companies. Savannah's got we're a really big port town, so that's pretty major here. But we did get we got a good Colonial Oil Group. They're a really big company here, and we moved their offices because of some connections that we made at those meetings. So that was a really good one. Um, just kind of being present at all the meetings has been beneficial for us. We do some sponsoring. We were doing Teacher of the Month at local schools in Savannah. One of our friends has a nonprofit. She runs that. Another BNI connection. And then we always do. I'll always go there yearly. I think we got it coming up in April, but we do a yearly. We do career day at a elementary school. It's all that a friend of mine works at. So I like the community stuff. As far as like digital advertising, we didn't have much success with it, and just stuck away from it. And I kind of prefer it that way. It's a little bit, I don't know. I prefer doing the kind of old brick and mortar advertising. I think it works well in this market just because it's a small town. Everybody knows each other, and yeah, tried dabbling in the LSA a little bit. Just haven't got many phone calls through it, but we're just gonna keep doing what works for us. So that's kind of where we've gotten to as far as marketing goes.
So just to recap for all the listeners, there's a couple things there which I want everyone to bear in mind. Realtors really, really amazing. That's something which Dan has lent into a lot, and you can see it's just flourished for him. Now, yard signs, I love that. And you said it was around $3 per yard sign. And I really like the example you gave too, is people thought your business was big because you had yard signs all over the place. You can have zero customers. You can be a brand new business for $300. You can have 100 yard signs all around your local area. People are going to realize that. So that's really amazing. And how simple do you keep those? I'm guessing it just says your company name and your phone number. There's no call to actions or anything. It's just very basic.
Yep. Green, Mover Dan Savannah,
Beautiful.
912. Yeah, yeah, and the number. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
So keep that as simple as possible for the yard signs. They really don't need much. Mailers as well is something a lot of people are experimenting with these days. It's a little bit more difficult to accurately track your ROI unless you have certain QR codes and stuff so you're tracking it. But I've heard the same thing from everyone who's done it. The first 3 months are all just like set up, getting in motion, and you're not going to see too much return from it. But like where you're at now, when you're in those 3 to 12 months time, that's when you really see some feedback. And it's the same thing we were talking about earlier, is people need to see you in multiple different places. Maybe they'll see you on Facebook, maybe they'll see your yard sign, and then they go ahead and get your mailer, or they get your mailer multiple times, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to go ahead and move
Mhm.
forward with these guys. Now, it's funny because, of course, I do have a marketing agency that only works with moving companies. The digital space is great, but we've heard it so many times, and it's such a shame that it's a difficult space to get into. And sometimes there's barriers to entry. Like you said, you've tried out LSAs before, and they haven't worked for you. I can say from all the clients we've helped in the past, they definitely can work, but I understand why, of course, some people are slow to move into that because you're going to be spending a lot of money and it needs to be spent right. And that's the thing which is I hate to hear is that I've been burnt by a marketing agency in the past, and that's always so sad because there are a lot of bad marketing agencies out there. So the biggest thing I can recommend is find someone who is just like we were talking about with the wrapping earlier, someone who does specifically marketing for the moving niche, and even better if you've heard from them or heard from someone else in your network speak highly of them. So, for example, when you go to this Movers Titan retreat or whatever it is, if you hear them speaking highly of an agency or something like this, that's a really great way to go about it. But I really appreciate all those insights into the marketing side of things. That's amazing. Now, for the viewers at home, you've been in business for about 3 years. Would you be comfortable sharing what your revenue was in 2025 with these marketing strategies?
Um, sure. We made $760,000 in revenue.
Awesome. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And the reason I want to highlight that is because Dan isn't just some guy who's doing yard signs and realtor connections, and he's only bringing 100K a year or something like that. You can really, well, Mosey says this best. You only need one lead funnel, and you need to do it really well, and you need to do it at volume, and you can get to $1 million a year in any industry. And Dan, thank you so much for sharing. That's just testimony to that. And first of all, congratulations. I'm sure 2026 is shaping out to be even better, but just shy of $1 million 2 to 3 years into the moving business. This is why you need to invest in yourself, surround yourself with the right people, and keep doing what's important. So, massive congratulations to you there, Dan. And I don't want to hold you all too long, but I'm really curious before we go ahead and sign
Yeah,
off.
sure.
What do the next 6 months look like for you? By the end of 2026, where do you want to be? You said yourself that you set goals, and I absolutely love that. What's the goal for the end of 2026? Whether that be revenue, trucks, size, new location, you tell me.
Um, yeah, I try to stay away from revenue goals. Or I guess goals period to call them objectives. I'm weird about it. It'll be a podcast for another time. But it was like
Yeah, I'm
yeah. Sometimes I don't know. I found it in the past. I don't know. You sometimes get misguided if you kind of just got tunnel vision on whatever. Oh, I need one more truck, but you don't have to work for another truck. Then you just bought another truck just to collect dust and pay more insurance on. Um, for me, it's really going to be adding another crew, keeping them busy, getting a system, gauging. I'd like to end the year gauging where I'm at with hiring, making a new, I guess, off the truck hire, whether it be um, probably
Mhm.
going to be a dispatcher kind of operations type role. Um, I lean into the sales a little bit. I like that process. It's something I think I'm gonna probably keep in my own hands for a little while, before handing it off to someone. Um, but yeah, kind of getting another a person like that, or figuring out what that looks like, and really quantifying the roles and all. Um, Again, we work well. I like having systems where it's just, I don't know how to describe it. Systems where you can just work efficiently, kind of. I don't really want to. I'd like to keep making more money, but I don't want to spend $1 million to make $1 million. So kind of keeping it efficient, keeping things low stress, not just on me, but on the guys as well. You can overwork people. You can burn out very quickly in this industry over the busy season. That's something I've seen and I've experienced before from working on the truck. So kind of being mindful of that end too, making sure everybody has, you know, they've got money in their pockets, but they also got some time to be with their families or loved ones too. Making sure it's a good place to work at. Um, but yeah, so just grow in a healthy way. Learn more about the industry. Learn more of I don't know what we can do, not to prevent issues from happening. You can't prevent issues from happening. They're always going to happen. But just be how to be ready and be malleable, and just be be ready to learn whatever might come at us, because it's going to be how this industry is. It's wild. You think you're having a normal day, and then things hit the fan, and then it's not a normal day anymore. So just being ready to be that fixer as you need to be, and then yeah, figuring out those growth steps, and yeah, really going from there. Just growing it healthy, keep the community image alive, and then yeah, keep making these connections.
Well, I appreciate all of those insights, and there's some really nice things there, which I see in all the successful people I speak with, is really bringing it down, not so much day to day, but you're going to focus on one thing at a time. So whatever it is you want to focus on, whether it's getting that one internal hire and just moving slowly, and I think you said it yourself perfectly, is you want to see healthy growth. And sometimes people, like you said, spending $1 million to make $1 million, that does no one any good. You want to do this in a healthy way, in a sustainable way, in a way that also doesn't burn out your crew. And it's great to hear that, because a lot of people forget about that when they have 40 people underneath them, they have 40 crew members or whatever it is. They forget what it's like to be on the job day to day. And especially in the busy season, that can be really tough. So, not spreading your guys too thin and just putting one step in front of the other. At the end of the day, that's all business is. I love the expression, just be 1% better every day. It's such a great way of doing things. You don't necessarily need goals, like you said, revenue goals 6 or 12 months out. You just constantly bring your best self, keep on working on that and improving the business bit by bit. And the one thing I love which you're doing is you're investing in your community and all the people around you, and you're going to bring them up and they're going to bring you up as well. So it's really been an honor chatting with you today. I'm excited to see what the rest of 2026 has to come for you. And I'm sure we're going to need to get you back on the podcast in about a year's time to see how everything's going. But again, Dan, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time. I'm sure everyone listening will get some really, really awesome insights. So thank you again so much.
Cool, awesome. Thank you, Brian. It's a good time.
And last things for the rest of the audience, where can they find you at? Whether that be Facebook, Instagram, your website, tell them where they can find you.
Oh, sure. Google Mover Dan. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. My assistant has us on TikTok, I think, too, if you like that stuff. But yeah, we're all over social media. Um, yeah, Google page is probably the best way to use. Calling for a quote, I'd recommend either call up the number or go visit our website. You can put in a form, and we can get you a quote very quickly.
Amazing. Well, thank you one more time again for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and link all of Dan's links in the YouTube description. So if you want to check him out, feel free to check that out there. And we'll have another episode coming up again next week. Thank you so much, Dan.